Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, you know what the most common comment that I get on my channel is? It's usually after I do a video talking about how they're going to be stripping your rights, and it's like, yeah, thanks a lot, a-hole. Now, what are you going to do to stop it? Well, as you know, we at Washington Gun Law, we're a trial firm, so we don't do a lot of appeals as it relates to the constitutionality of laws, but, you know, there are other worthwhile organizations that do that, such as, well, the Silent Majority Foundation. So today, we're here in Pasco, Washington, to talk to our good friend Pete Serrano at the Silent Majority Foundation. You know, one of those law firms that actually does something about it because, hey, we need to talk about what's going to happen if House Bill 1240 becomes reality. So today, let's spend a few minutes and talk about how we plan to stop Washington's assault weapon ban. Okay, so like I said, we're here at the Silent Majority Foundation, beautiful Pasco, Washington. And hey, Pete, why don't you come on in? Now, for those of you who've geeked out on the channel before, you all know Pete Serrano. Pete, say hi to everyone.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
All right, hey, thanks for being here. So listen, let's get everyone up to speed about the Silent Majority Foundation because you guys are warriors, man. You got a lot of stuff going. So we got a case called Brumback v. Ferguson. What's that all about?
That's challenging Senate Bill 5078 from last year, which the large capacity magazines, as the left call it, standard capacity for the rest of us. That we brought in the Eastern District of Washington, which is in Yakima. That case is still pending, awaiting a ruling from Judge Mary Dimke.
And we should have gotten a ruling on December 23rd, but Judge Dimke's just kind of taking her time. Is that right?
That's true. We do hope or believe that Judge Benitez down in California is going to pave a way for her to actually follow what the law says.
That's right. That's right. And then a suit I learned about today when you and I were just kind of BSing earlier is you got a challenge in Stevens County to what was House Bill 1705, or what we call the Untraceable Firearm Bill. So tell the viewers a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we brought that in Stevens County with 5 pseudonym plaintiffs, meaning they're pleading as John Does, and then Silent Majority Foundation as the tip of the spear. That challenges this notion that untraceable firearm has to be serialized, otherwise you can be criminalized for criminally penalized for possessing one that existed prior to the enactment of the actual legislation. It went into effect on March 11th of this year. So we're challenging that, and we sought a preliminary injunction that was denied, but our John Doe plaintiffs get to remain anonymous, which, as we know with Bob Ferguson, anonymity is probably equally important to actually winning the end.
Well, especially if they're in the FFL industry or anything like that, because we know that he's been on a war path, and with Senate Bills 5078, they're about to give the Attorney General unfettered discretion to run roughshod over the industry here. Now, listen, speaking of unfinished frames and receivers, because that's kind of what you guys are challenging in Stevens County, I also understand that you're about to file suit in federal court against the ATF on their rule as it relates to unfinished frames and receivers as well.
Yeah, we've been working desperately to bring both these cases. We knew that the March 11th date was more critical, so we brought the state component. Now we're going to challenge the ATF's rulemaking on the unfinished frames and receivers, hopefully in the next week or two, down in federal court in the Western District of Washington. It's critically important because we actually have a manufacturer who's located down there. I'm not going to out until you see the actual pleadings.
Right, yeah. Stay tuned for details.
Yeah, and it's crazy. He's potentially losing his ability to get insurance, unfortunately, due to this ATF rulemaking. So it's important for us to stand for these manufacturers.
Right.
These mom and pop shops especially really need our help.
Big time.
We're going to be challenging that hopefully in the next week or two.
And then listen, like you're not doing enough here in Washington State. We can go through all the other headache you've caused Governor Inslee with mask mandates and vaccine mandates and things like that. But you guys threw your hat in the ring down in Oregon because, as we know, for those of you who've been geeking out on this channel, if you think we got it bad here, hey, check out Oregon. Oregon Ballot Measure 114, a complete abomination of constitutional rights. And Silent Majority Foundation got down in there. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing down there on that one.
Yeah, so we did what's called an amicus brief, meaning a friends of the court, where we briefed an issue. We took the specific issue of the standard or large capacity magazines, as the left calls them, and we briefed that issue up. It's still pending in front of Judge Immerget, the federal judge down there. It's processing, it's proceeding. Right now they're doing a bunch of expert deposition testimonies, which it's crazy. They've gone from historians to now English teachers, at least the left has.
Yeah. We're going to get some Latin in on it too pretty soon also.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because they're really not experts in the law or in the science, but it is what it is.
Well, I always find it interesting when you want to bring in a historian to teach a judge about the history of laws when I believe that the judge's sole role is to, I don't know the history of the laws.
Yeah, theoretically, that's what we as counsel are supposed to present, as well as the judge is supposed to understand. So it's an interesting process. It's where we are. I think that's the big misinterpretation of Bruin, that everybody's looking to the history to save the future.
Right. Now, listen, here's the big issue, and this is the one that's got all of our viewers really worked up. We got this House Bill 1240 kicking around. It does look like it's going to be a reality. We do anticipate it's going to be signed into legislation. We're kind of speculating third week of April. What's Silent Majority Foundation going to be doing? And more importantly, what does Silent Majority want to be doing, but we're not quite there yet?
Yeah, our end goal is to file a suit as soon as possible. We'd love to file it as soon as Jay Inslee's pen, before the ink even dries. We see the presser and we file it immediately. We've been working with folks specifically on the east side of the state, in part because we're located here and in part because it's just wise to bring the cases here, where we can find some qualified plaintiffs, whether that's an individual who possesses or organizations that transfer and sell anything of that nature. So we're working, we believe we've identified qualified, solid plaintiffs, and that's really critical to this battle.
Okay, so now we have what we would believe are the people willing to be named plaintiffs, and without giving away the game plan, we have selected a venue that we think would be most appropriate to file not only a suit to overturn, but more importantly, a suit for an injunction to stop the law from actually going into effect, right?
Absolutely. And so what we would do is, as soon as we would file a motion for temporary restraining order, an emergency temporary restraining order, which lasts up to 14 days and can also be extended a second 14 days typically, or at least until the merits are heard.
Which is exactly what's happening in Oregon. They've been on a temporary injunction for months now.
They have.
Right.
They have. And so this emergency temporary restraining order can be heard typically within 48 hours of filing, depending on whether or not you've provided notice to the opposition. We filed that in Stevens County on our 1705 challenge. It got bumped out 5 days. The judge said, I won't hear the temporary restraining order, but you have 5 days to prime up a preliminary injunction, which then extends throughout the duration of litigation. Either way, we are doing everything we can to cover the state of Washington as quickly and as broadly as possible with one lawsuit.
But see, here's what I want our viewers to understand is that if Jay Inslee signs the bill on April 20th and you guys want to file a suit on April 20th as well, it's not just cutting and pasting and slapping together a few pleadings here, okay? There is a lot of work, a lot of research, there's a lot of service that needs to be done, and then it's not just one brief on, hey, here's what the problem is there's a motion for this and a motion for that and a motion for this, and the pleadings ultimately turn out to be quite voluminous, right?
Yeah, I mean, looking at our 1705, the Untraceable Firearms Challenge in Stevens County, right? Our complaint was probably 30 or 40 pages. Then we had Silent Majority Foundation's declaration of standing, plus 5 John Does, the unnamed plaintiffs that get to stay. Again, very important, get to stay unnamed in that case. All of their declarations. So we had to talk to them. We had to really understand what their standing was. And then we had a motion for temporary restraining order, plus the declarations of service that you mentioned, and as well as a motion for preliminary injunction. Each one of those is like another 20 pages. So there's the research, the writing, the drafting, and then we showed up for court in 1705 last week. So there's a lot that goes into these cases. To your point, it's unfortunate that it's not just a cut and paste. It's a cut and paste a little here and there, and then add a ton. And then cut and paste a little here and there, and then add a ton. And then find the right people. Like I said, we've known 1240 was coming for some time. Finding the right plaintiffs in the right place with the right type of standing so a judge doesn't say, oh, I don't want to get involved in this. That has been a labor in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, here's the thing. And this is where your company and my company is a little different, because I make no bone about it. Washington Gun Law is a for-profit company. Silent Majority, however, is a nonprofit organization. So there are a lot of things that Silent Majority Foundation wants to do, but you're somewhat limited. And you're limited by what?
We're limited by our financial resources. Our financial resources are our donors. And with that, we have to have sufficient funds to come in so that we can bring in the staff that we needed. We've grown from me, one attorney, to 3 attorneys and 1.5 staff. In addition to that, you mentioned where we're limited. We can't go up on the Hill and lobby against this.
Right.
As a nonprofit, Our job is squarely to educate people, advocate, and then end up in court.
You would actually lose your tax-exempt status if you went and started engaging in politics.
Exactly. And so while we pay attention to what's happening in the Capitol, a lot of folks ask us, why are you not vocal on these bills? Why aren't you endorsing candidates in these races? We can't. As soon as we do that, Silent Majority Foundation loses its 501c3, its nonprofits, tax-exempt status, where you can donate and get some sort of tax credit or deduction. We want to do that so that the people of Washington understand that they are the backers of the Silent Majority Foundation, that they are the Silent Majority Foundation, that our fights are their fights.
So what I want my viewers to understand is if someone came into my office and said, Bill, I want to hire Washington Gun Law and I want to sue on behalf, there's going to be a price tag for that. There is a fee agreement. They will write a very large check and we will then move forward. But when you're coming to an organization like Silent Majority Foundation, they're accepting the cause, and they're not accepting money from the client. They're accepting the cause on behalf of the cause, and more importantly, on behalf of all of your individual rights. So they are only as strong and they are only as good as their financial backing. So I really do believe, especially when we take a look at how many national organizations we have, but how few really just intrastate, local organizations we got. I really think that it's all of our obligations to help out groups such as the Silent Majority Foundation. So Pete, if people are interested, and obviously we'll put the links down below in the description box, but tell folks how they can help out the Silent Majority Foundation.
Yeah, they can go to our homepage, which is smfjb.org.
FJB, what's that all about?
It's just conveniently fell into my lap, right?
Weird how that works.
And so go to smfjb.org. You can go into our donations section. We have Second Amendment donations. We have medical freedoms. We have free speech. We're tackling all these causes to make sure the wonderful state of Washington, which has been run roughshod for the past, for some time.
30 plus years. 30 plus
for
years.
Some
but who's
time,
counting?
But we are trying to restore Washington. Now, I know there's another group called that, but we want Washington to be the wonderful gem that it is.
And that's what I want all of you guys to understand about Silent Majority Foundation and like the Conservative Ladies of Washington and these other groups that I'm really, really vocal about, is they're not just fighting for your Second Amendment rights. They're fighting to stop all of the insanity that's going on in Washington. And right now, we know there is a ton of insanity. Pete, tell the viewers one more time how to help out Silent Majority Foundation. Where do they go?
Yep, smfjb.org. We're there. Donations go straight to us. It's tax exempt. So we greatly appreciate everything you can do to support us.
Hey, help them out. Pete, thanks for everything.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, once again, I want to thank Pete Serrano from the Silent Majority Foundation, not only for taking time out of his busy schedule to talk to us, but for all the amazing work they have done fighting for the rights of you, the lawful and responsible gun owner here in Washington State. Listen, you may have more questions about this issue or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights. If you do, you should know how to contact Washington Gun Law by now, but if you don't, hey, all of that information is in the description box down below. In the meantime, I do want all of you to remember that part of being a lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.